What's up, YouTubers and plant lovers? It's Justin, and today I was going to show you how I care for my Philodendron Brasil. Now, the scientific name is Philodendron hederaceum, but the common name for it is the heartleaf philodendron, or you may have heard it called the sweetheart philodendron, and that is just because the leaves kind of look similar to a heart. It's got those little arches up top and kind of taper down to a point at the bottom, but you can see that the at least newer, smaller leaves do kind of resemble a heart. It gets the name Brazil because the plant is actually native to around South America, and the leaves slightly resemble the Brazilian flag. But like I said, it is actually a heartleaf philodendron, but this is a cultivated variety because of its variegation. And let me tell you, they look stunning. Each leaf looks pretty unique in comparison to the rest of the leaves. Some of them have giant kind of splotches of lime green going down the center of the leaf. Others just have a little narrow, straight, almost looking kind of line. It does look hand painted just because there is so much variety and difference in between all the different leaves. Some of the newer ones just look really kind of lime colored as opposed to the dark off on the edges of the leaves, but the plant is stunning. It looks gorgeous. Typically, people have them growing up on bookcases, but they can also be trained to actually kind of trail or cascade down, like mine is in a hanging pot. And I've had him for quite some time now. I think I got it when Louisville was back in its second lockdown. So I saw this out and I was a little, depressed from being at home all the time, and I thought, wow, this guy can really kind of brighten up a dark corner of my dank or depressing home or house. And it's done a really good job. I love this plant to death, not only because of its stunning looks, but its care. It's so easy to actually care for. You can practically set and forget this plant. They are very popular houseplants for that reason. They can adjust to a wide variety of light requirements, soil requirements, and kind of inconsistent watering schedules that a lot of newer plant parents give these plants. So they're very forgiving plants. And like I said, you can train them up a moss pole, have them kind of cascade down, put it up on a bookcase, and have it kind of trail down. But you do want to keep it up kind of high. You don't want it sitting on the floor because this plant is very toxic. Now I say it is toxic, it shouldn't kill anybody. It is toxic to pets and to humans as well. So if you've got any little ones running around, fur babies or real babies, make sure you have this plant up and away, because if they chew on it, they can have some problems with the mouth, the gastrointestinal tract, stomach aches, all kinds of problems. And if you're getting the sap on your paws or your hands and then touch your eyes, there can be a problem. But like I said, the plant is toxic. It is not poisonous, so it shouldn't kill anybody. Although I don't know if you really want to take my word for that. Although I do have 3 cats, a dog, and a bird, and I have not had any problem with this so far. I think when I first brought it home, Willow wanted to kind of paw at it a little bit, but I picked it up and moved it, and she hasn't given it another thought. Though be careful, because this is a vine trailing tropical plant, so that will entice cats, birds, and little kids running around too, and you got to be careful of that. Getting into light requirements, this plant, like I said, is very forgiving when it comes to water and light, and even soil. Typically, whenever you see these plants, a lot of times they look kind of splotchy or bald in the center. So I know a lot of times they like a little bit of top-down lighting to kind of help with that problem. But I have mine in my plant room, which has an eastern exposure, and he's happy there. He's done really well. I think the humidity in that room is around 50%. So you got to think with these guys, they are tropical, so light needs to be kind of intermediate. You don't want it too bright and you don't want it to not have enough light. If it doesn't have enough light, you'll start to see space in between the nodes get longer, and it'll look really leggy and etiolated, and then the variegation will suffer too. So if you're wanting to show off this beautiful kind of cream and lime and dark green color, or the peach of brand new leaves, when they get these new leaves in, they look kind of a peachish, almost kind of limeish yellow. It's really pretty to see. You actually have to give your plant a decent amount of light. Now, established plants can take a little bit more light than non-established plants. So if you've just bought yours and you got it from a big box store, Kroger, any place, Walgreens, Lowe's, Home Depot, all of the above, make sure you introduce him into the natural sunlight slowly. He should never really be in a place where he gets direct sunlight on just about any of the leaves at all. You want it to be just kind of right outside of where that bright light is. Like I said, it is a tropical plant, so typically you would think, okay, bright light. No, these guys are like epiphytes. They're not epiphytes. They grow up around the trees, but they are below the canopy line. So you make sure that your plant is going to be receiving some filtered light. If it's too hot and too harsh, your plant will suffer for that as well. So make sure that wherever you do have it, it is either scooted back a little bit, or you do have a curtain or some blinds to kind of help filter that light out for your plant. And like I said, established plants tend to take a little bit more light, and since he is variegated, you want to actually give your plant more light to actually help with that variegation pattern, or you could lose it. In talking about light, we'll go into temperature next. This is a tropical plant, so you have to think warm, kind of humid areas in your home. If you have it outdoors, you can have it outside whenever the danger of frost has passed, because these will not do well at 55. That is about the cutoff line. Around 50 to 55 is okay, but once it starts to get around the low 50s, around 50 or lower, your plant will actually suffer quite a bit for that too. So you can actually have stunted growth, and if it gets well below 50, down into like the 40s and 30s, it will not survive a frost and it will die. So it cannot get down below around, I wouldn't even go too far below 55. 55 at night, 55 through 65 is ideal, and during the day they like it around 70 to 85. And once you get over 85, the ability to photosynthesize starts to cut down drastically. So if it is really hot out and you're hot and sweaty and uncomfortable, your plant is probably going to be pretty hot and sweaty and uncomfortable too. And now when I say sweaty, I just kind of mean that they're losing a lot of water, and the stomatas are opening some and kind of closing to actually prevent a lot of that water loss, so they don't sweat like you do. But you do want to kind of keep it out of direct sunlight when it's hot out, and if it is really hot, make sure you're checking the soil and the water too. So next I will go into water, and with these guys, it's kind of moderate water. I kind of stick my finger down in there to kind of feel if I feel any moisture at all. You really want about the top inch or so to dry out in between waterings, because they don't like to be sitting in wet, saturated soil all day long. I think during the summer I was giving him 2 to 3 cups of water every 5 to 7 days. And in the wintertime, you want to cut that back by about half. So I gave him the same amount of water, but only watered him about every 2 weeks, about every 14 days. Next, I want to talk about the soil with him. Like I said, they get a decent amount of rain in their environment, and in your home, it's not going to be too much different. So you definitely want something that drains really fast. They typically like it kind of a rich, organic, composted soil, but something that's mixed in with some perlite or pumice or some sand to actually help release the excess water. If your plant is sitting in saturated soils all day, it will succumb to root rot rather quickly. So make sure that if you do have it in a pot, it's got several drainage holes in there. And if you're looking to build your own, typically I like a little bit of peat mixed in with some compost, about 50% of those two together, and about 25% pumice and about 25% of some cocoa coir, and that helps with the acidity. Now, talking about the soil pH, they do like it on the acidic side, anywhere with a pH of around 4.5 on up to 6.0. So the cocoa coir will actually go in and actually help and make sure that they're actually taking up the right amount of nutrients they need, because if the soil pH is not right, oftentimes that will affect what they're able to intake with their micro and macronutrients too. Now, in discussing that, I want to talk a little bit about fertilizer with these guys. And there's just your average fertilizers. Anything that's marketed towards tropical houseplants is ideal. If you're going the synthetic route, around like a 10-10-10 or a 20-20-20, something with that in mind is fine. But like I said, as long as you do an organic one, you could probably do a little bit less. I tend to compost a little bit with mine to kind of mix in a little bit of topsoil in there with it, and it's helped him out tremendously. Foliar fertilizers work really well with this guy too. So if you don't want to, you can use a liquid fertilizer, or you could do the foliar sprays and feed through the leaves. Now, if you notice that your plant has some pale leaves with these typically indicate that they're not getting the right amount of calcium or magnesium, which are both important micronutrients for your Philodendron heteroecium. Some yellowing leaves are to be expected. You may see some older leaves start to turn yellow. That's normal and that's fine. But if you're starting to see several yellower leaves on your plant that really just don't match up to any of the variegation, or they just look rather unsightly, then you may have a problem with one of three things. The first issue may be inconsistent watering. You may be watering too much the first week, and then you've realized, oh wow, I've done too much, so you cut back the next week or the week after that. Inconsistent watering kind of messes these plants up. So if you're going to water, make sure you stay more consistent with it. Like I said, they don't like to be saturated in wet, soggy soils all day. So make sure yours has drainage holes in the bottom, and be kind of on time with the water that you give it and the amounts that you do. Like I said, with mine, I give him anywhere from about 2 to 3 cups every 5 to 7 days, about once a week or so. And in the winter, I always cut it back. And then if you're not doing inconsistent watering and you seem pretty on point with your water, the next problem could be that your plant isn't receiving as much light as it needs. Like I said, these are marketed more towards a low light house plant, but that doesn't mean that this plant needs a whole bunch of low light. I have him in an east facing exposure, and I do have a new grow light that I got off Amazon that I don't know how it's working too well, but it's one of those ones that you can stick in for one plant, and it has the halo light that comes down and bends over the plant, and I've used that with him, and I've noticed that he doesn't have any kind of balding situation going on in here. If you look through here, it looks pretty full. And that's what's made me happy with him, because he actually looks like a healthy house plant. So you may need to actually supplement with some grow lights, and that's normal. But I will let you know how that grow light has turned out for this plant. I have one with my lithops right now, and they seem to enjoy it. And I've only recently started using the individual halo light with this guy, probably about a week or so ago, and I don't use it that often, but he seems to be doing pretty well. I got a bunch of newer leaves coming in on top that are unfurling, so I think it has worked pretty well. I read a bunch of the reviews online, and they were kind of mixed. And in talking about the third problem with the yellow leaves, that could be a nutrient deficiency. So if you watch how much water you're giving it and it seems to have the right amount of light, you may want to check how often you fertilize your plant. I feed him about once a month, and it seems to suffice with him. The only other thing I wanted to mention about this guy is the pests. Now, these aren't too susceptible to pests. They do have their normal problems with any kind of normal house plant. Your mealybugs, your aphids, spider mites, fungus gnats. Fortunately, the best method to deter pests is to kind of stay on top of it and observe. And as you kind of come in and you prune or you water or fertilize, look over and under most of your leaves and just see if you see anything kind of flying out or any kind of filaments that may indicate spider mites. And they can also suffer from scale. So anytime that you do have a problem with scale, that is a hard one to combat. Although I use systemic pesticides with scale, and have had great results there. If you do have any problem with any kind of pest, the best way to combat that is to stay on top of it and take your plant and put it in the shower about once every month or every other month and hose them off. They need a bath just like we do, although they don't need as many baths as we do because you don't want to spray them off every day. But this is the way Mother Nature handles it in nature. She comes in with a strong gust of wind and rain and blows most of these pests off, and you don't have to worry about infestation. So it is nice to actually put yours in the shower or take it out back with the garden hose and spray it off every month or every other month to make sure that you're knocking any pest away and your plant is actually healthier and cleaner. Like I said, this is a foliage plant, so they need to have clean leaves. And I always say that if you want to, you can use a microfiber cloth and some warm water and some lemon juice. About 3 parts warm water and 1 part lemon juice will actually be enough to come in here with some acidity and knock off a bunch of this hard water stains, dust, and any other problems that you may find with your philodendrons. Well guys, that's really all I wanted to say on this plant. And as always, I wanted to give a shout out to my patrons. I wanted to give a special shout out to my top tier tree patron, Thuyen. Thank you. I also wanted to give another thank you to my other patrons, like David. If you have any plant problems or questions and want to get a hold of me, the best way to do it would be on Patreon. I'm often bogged down by emails, comments, and things of that nature. And donating on Patreon always helps me out to keep these videos coming, to buy new plants, and to make sure I take care of the ones I have. And as always guys, this has been Justin reminding you that if you can, go out and plant a tree. Let's reforest the world. While you're at it, if you have any questions or comments, be sure to leave them in the comments section and let me know what your favorite philodendron is. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button or the bell next to it. That way you'll know anytime that I've uploaded a new video. Alright guys, have a good one, and don't forget, always plant prudently. Thank you, you too.